Yeah, so we are live. Thank you everyone from wherever you are watching this session. In today's session, we have Kubans, who happens to work at the Nigerian Supreme Court. Uh, okay, so we have uh, our other participant. Uh, okay, okay, great. Very good right time entry, Ahmed. Kubans has a number of years of experiences working in the legal domain in Nigeria. As of now, he also pursuing a lot of international contract drafting, international law related programs, interestingly from India. And Senior legal professional. On the other hand, we have Ahmed, who resides in India. He's also from Nigeria. As of now, he is in his hometown in Nigeria, and in one of the universities based out of Delhi NCR, he studies. And in my personal interaction, I have found him very well spoken as far as English is concerned, and writes quite well. And in my interactions with Kubans, I have found him very professional. Thank you, both of you, for joining in this session, and welcome for this session.
Thank you, Dr. Seed.
Okay. Ahmad, I hope I'm audible. Can you hear me clearly? I don't know whether Ahmad, can you hear us? Okay, probably he might be facing a bit of technical issues. Okay. So going forward, Kuban sir, please let me know what motivated you to pursue law as a career. If you could just talk about your early education, early childhood, and then maybe your experiences and what led to you having a legal career.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Seed, for the privilege to be on this live show once again. So, what really informed my choice of law as a career? I would say for me that law beyond a career, it's a calling for me. And now I'll try as much as possible to explain that for the sake of our viewers. Growing up from the cradle, I think I always wanted to become a medical doctor, and I was focused on that. And that was a part I was determined to pursue. But somewhere along the line, I found myself, on a different path. And, that's the part of pursuing a career in law. And, well, at that particular time, there wasn't motivations, there weren't inspirations, to continue with it. But then that was where I found myself, and so I decided to stay in a bit. And then along the line, I think I discovered myself on that path, and that's why I said it's more or less like a calling for me. What I mean by calling, there are times when you want to pursue something, and then there's this inner drive that keeps redirecting your path, and I think that was what happened for me in law. And um, getting into it, I realized that's where I should be, other than what I actually wanted. And let me also briefly speak from the perspective of my passion or the things I do. Um, Currently, I am a human rights advocate, and um, for me, you know, studying law or being a lawyer, it gives you a wider scope. I mean, it gives you a wider training, because you could be an advocate. I mean, when I say an advocate, I mean you standing up for whatever issue or right, you're speaking up for whatever issue in a community or in an organization, whatever. You could be an advocate, but you could not necessarily be a lawyer. But
Okay.
you can not necessarily be a lawyer without being an advocate, for whatever reason. It all depends on what your passions are or what your interests are. But you are speaking for a particular cause, one way or the other, if you're a lawyer. So for me, and that's why I said it's a calling, being a lawyer gives me that opportunity to not only speak up, but to address, as an advocate. Yes, you have there are things that you can't do, but as a lawyer, I think you have an edge. You are more equipped, in your training, and so there are things you can actually go much beyond what an advocate can do in standing up for people's rights and all that. So these are some of the motivations I have presently, and I think that's why I've been steadfast to what I'm doing. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, thank you for sharing your motivation. So, any specific cases, any specific instances where you could talk about so far, where your legal knowledge helped you quite a bit in helping someone, some particular individual organization?
Okay, great. I've had a lot of cases, political, a lot of cases, bordering on administrative law, bordering on employment. But I think for employment, let me be very particular about that. There's this individual some years back, and whose job or whose employment was terminated, arbitrarily or without cause. And he has written several letters to the institution, either to reinstate him or to pay him, off his entitlements. And he mentioned the story to me, or he narrated the story to me, and it was quite touching and very emotional. And he actually doesn't have, the resources, to pay for the legal services and all that. And all he could do was to, you know, write letters and all that. And I felt great. This is something I can look into. It's something within a narrow compass, and I feel I can make a difference, And so I took up the case pro bono, right? And essentially, that's some of the things I do. I took up the case pro bono, and we filed an action against the institution. And at some point, I was very busy. Again, that is one of the advantage you have as a lawyer, beyond just being an advocate. I was very busy. I had to attend to other, matters of pressing concern, and I had to, drag in a colleague of mine, and I told him, "Hey, look, please, can you handle this for me? It's something I want to do pro bono." And of course, being a colleague and having regard and respect for me, he decided to. And that was how we pursued that case to a logical
Okay.
conclusion. And we got judgment, And
Okay.
at the end of it, yes, the client was happy. Yeah.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So very nice and touching story instance. For the audience, prior to this session, me and Kubans were talking about comparison between the Indian and Nigerian legal system, and we identified, I identified also that it is almost similar structure. And since it was under both India and Nigeria were under British rule for a while. So both have their genesis in English law. And I really get motivated by seeing Kubans is also following international law and contract drafting courses and from a particular institution in India. So Kubans, what motivated you to pursue this program? If you could just talk about your motivation in pursuing this program, maybe career trajectory, or maybe choosing India as a program study destination.
Great. My motivation, I think, for pursuing international contract drafting, negotiation, and dispute resolution. Well, contract drafting is something elementarily as a lawyer, even the Nigerian legal system passing through. the law college, you would have been taught contracts, and of course, as a qualified legal practitioner, that is something you do on virtually, day by day basis. You draft contracts, you review contracts, and but then I think my interest was stirred. Someone shared a link with me, and it was essentially a boot camp. Losico actually they do a lot of boot camps, and I happen to be in one of the boot camps, and there are quite a number of courses actually one could have choose from. And initially, I wanted to go for. I think my interest was in financial technology, because it was evolving, and even here in Africa, and that so I wanted to have a firm. I mean, these are emerging areas that we never had the privilege to, study while we were in the college. So I felt okay, great, and looking at the affordability and India, of course, like I said, we have a similar legal system. I remember back then in college, many years ago, we have a lot of, I mean, some of our uh, contemporary, even some of our contemporary texts in law, there are lots of comparison, even cases that are being taken from the, Indian legal system. So for me, it was very much familiar. It was something I could relate with. Of course, save for the statutes, and the laws, and that may differ, one way or the other, but essentially it's the same. So I decided to give it a try, and after the boot camp and enrolled in the course, it was a very, very rare experience. I mean, I've had occasion to take an online course, at some point, but then the one offered by Law School was, just stood out. And of course, it was after COVID. And so I think basically that's, one of the reasons why I decided to pursue international contract drafting with Losico in India.
Okay, wonderful. So, Ahmed, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Ahmed? I don't know
Yes, yes, I
whether.
can hear you now.
Oh, wonderful. So good. So wonderful. So welcome. I think
Yeah, I
you are
finally
facing
got
some
the.
technical.
Yes,
Okay,
I
no,
actually
good,
have
good.
some network
So
problem around, and apologize for
no,
the
no problem. No
inconveniences.
worries. No issues, no issues. So, yeah, Ahmed. So,
Yeah,
tell
it's
me. So, as we heard about Kuban's motivation to pursue law as a career, what was your motivation?
yes. Well, I have always been very passionate about the legal profession from a very young age. I actually have never seen or thought about myself pursuing any other career apart from law. The legal profession has been regarded as a noble and elite profession. It is traditionally held in high regards, and one of the most attractive features that set law apart from many other professional courses is the diversity of choices it offers. As a legal professional, you could be part of the private sector or the public sector. I mean, the public services. You could be even be part of the academia. You could be part of a corporation as an in-house counsel. You could even be a solo practitioner if you desire to be so. And legal education opens a wide range of career opportunities, and it also equips individual with essential transferable skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, research, writing, and communication. And all these skills are very, very valuable, not only in a legal profession, I believe it is very valuable in all other legal professions. I mean, other professions. And lawyers are often seen as a pillars of the society because of their contribution towards the functioning of the justice system, and upholding the rule of law, which is very, very important in the society at large, and also the crucial role they play in shaping the public policy and um, protecting and defending the rights of individuals, and their contribution towards social changes through public interest litigations and through public interest litigations and petitions of such nature. And also, one of the things that really caught my attention at a very young age was I grew up very close to my late grandfather, who was chief judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja, Nigeria. So I really look up to him. I really like the way he is well respected in the community and the way he carry himself. I learned so much from him at a very young age, and being with him just made me realize this is what I want to do. This is what I want to pursue, and here am I pursuing law
Okay.
as a career.
No, wonderful. So, family history, family background, and of course, Kuban's lot of motivation which we saw around. So, Ahmed, apart from spending time in Nigeria, you also took an effort and physically located to India to pursue your dual degree program. So, what was your motivation to
Yes.
coming to India, and how did you narrow down to this particular program?
Um, India is one of the tough countries, I think, worldwide when it comes to valuing its teaching workforce and methodology. And one of the advantages of studying law in India is the quality of the education. The Indian law schools are well renowned for their rigorous academic standards, their effort in trying to provide students with a comprehensive legal knowledge, and also as compared to the Western countries, the cost of legal education in India is much more affordable. The tuition fee and as well as the cost of living is often low, which makes it an attractive option to consider for students who are willing to and hoping to get a legal quality education at a reasonable cost. And India is also known for its diverse culture, tradition, and heritage. So I think also studying law in India will equip students with with a very deep understanding of the culture, tradition, and heritage of the country. And this knowledge will be very valuable when dealing with legal matters, not only in India as well as outside India as well. And there is also a very, very available internship opportunities, very abundant and ample. So as a law student, if you take this opportunity, a student will get a hands-on experience uh, to enhance their practical legal skills by interning with law firms, government agencies, uh, corporate legal departments to enhance their legal skills. And the Indian legal system is very much influenced by various international legal principles. So, study law in India also acquaints students with the understanding of the global legal issues, as well as the impact of international law on domestic legal frameworks.
Okay,
Yes,
wonderful.
so
So thank you for analyzing this case so thoroughly. So I can see that you have become very methodological, very analytical. It is really good to see.
thank you, sir.
As I was talking about with Kubans, my first experience in Africa was primarily in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa.
Yes, sir.
It was way back, I would say almost maybe 10 years ago. I was visiting Addis on a United Nations project, UNITO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization.
Yes, sir.
Me and couple of my colleagues, we were advising the government of Ethiopia in their primarily in the agriculture and dairy strategy. And my visit, I would say that I was very impressed. Of course, I got a bit of feel of India. So, except if you leave aside the so-called metropolitan cities in India, it is not that African capitals would be too different from the other kind of cities. But what other things inspired me was we were putting up initially at a Hilton Hotel, but as I was saying to Kubans, which we were discussing prior to starting this live session, we did not like the hotel that much. Of course, it has bit of a foreign feel, and then the space was there. But as far as the cost is concerned, as far as the quality of, I would say, food, etc., was concerned, we were not very impressed. So we moved to a hotel which was around 500 meters from Hilton Hotel, which was set up by an Ethiopian entrepreneur. And that we had already identified by scouting the place. And I was mighty impressed by the cost effectiveness as well as the quality of the food, I would say. And when we had the presentation with the Ethiopian government officials, we had that in that hotel. This gentleman, he had worked in the Middle East, accumulated some wealth, and was investing in the country. And the level of service, the quality of service which was provided was quite good. And as in case the audiences are from India or Africa, you would also have known that Indian Institute of Technologies are premier technical institutions from India. And one of the IITs is setting its campus also in Africa. If I remember correctly, it is in Ghana or I think nearby that country. And I'm quite hopeful that other institutions would be also sharing their maybe some campuses they would be putting in the African continent, because Africa is very important. Of course, as I mentioned in the post, it is the cradle of humankind, and which I could also see from my visit to Ethiopia and the museums, the Lucy's, all the preserves, as well as a lot of historical, I would say, traces. As far as the cultural, as far as the economical aspects are concerned, it is very important, and that's why a lot of Indians have visit in and some business relationship in Africa. And in my observation, I saw that Dutch people from Netherlands organization institutions were quite intimately involved in the agriculture sector within the African continent. So, Ahmad, apart from the so-called academic rigor which you observe in India, what other activities you got involved in, and how was your experience other than academics?
Well, other than academic activities, well, apart from my course of study in my university, I took some courses. I took courses with e-learning platforms like Law Octopus and Law Seco. I took a course
Now,
with
I'm
Law
not
Octopus
talking
on
about
contract
study. I'm
drafting.
talking about food. I'm talking about socializing, all those.
Okay. Well, one of the activities I would say I engage in fitness and health activities. And as you know, fitness and health activities are very beneficial both for physical and mental well-being. And I think it's one of the best decisions I actually have ever made. And I've engaged with many friends through that, and I've had the opportunity to travel. I have I did my first year of college in Raipur, Chhattisgarh University. I
Oh,
mean in Kalinga University in Raipur. So I
okay,
was in Raipur for 1 year before I shifted to Delhi and NCR. And I was also in Rajasthan. I visited some few friends in Rajasthan who were at Pratap University. In Rajasthan, I saw it's a very beautiful city with a very beautiful architectural, very good architectural designs. Kind of the one you don't want to take your eyes off of it. Very nice. Yes, and I've been to Aligarh. I've also been to Gurgaon
okay.
in Haryana, and I've also got the opportunity to go to Palwal. I was in Palwal with my supervisor when I was interning at a KK Singh law firm. I was in Palwal district quite a few times. And I would say one regarding my experience there, my overall experience. If I could sum all my experience, I would say it has been very, very great, very, very great. It's actually very, very nice. Yes.
Okay, Indian food is perceived to be very spicy. So what is your observation about that?
Well, from where I come from the northern Nigeria, we also have this kind of spicy. Although I know the Indian spicy is much more spicier than, but yes, I'm familiar with spicy foods, and yes, I enjoyed. I have tried so many different foods in India, and one of my favorite, I would say, it's dosa. Yeah, and yes,
Okay,
I heard so many different Indian foods, and I like it. Yes.
okay, wonderful. So you are also based out of Abuja, if I'm not.
No, no.
Okay,
Yes, I'm from Bauchi
okay,
State.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So Kubansa is in Abuja. So Kubansa, Africa has a particular perception. Of course, maybe traditionally it has not been a very economically powerful continent, and then a lot of civil strife between different countries within the countries. In your interactions during this academic program, did you feel any kind of difference in perception, any special effort people made to within the course which you were taking, a special effort people made to help you out? What was your experience with people interaction?
Okay, so great. Thank you, Dr. Seed. Interaction has been great for the course I am enrolled in. Um, of course, I had interaction with you before now, and so
Yes.
talking about perceptions, well, probably because you are well traveled or you've been to Africa. Perception, of course, it's general. It's common for people to perceive or for people to think this is what it is. But at the long run, it is. People have a lot of negative perceptions about Africa, like you said. Of course, um, Africa has, of course, had a lot of setbacks. A lot of African countries are trying to gain their feet, uh, but there's so much positivity in Africa. There's so much beauty in Africa. I mean, you can attest to it, Sid. You've been to
Yeah,
Ethiopia, and I can tell you there are more beautiful, sunsets, in Africa, other than
agreed.
Addis Ababa that you've been to. So Africa, it's a place we are proud of, and we're building it. You mentioned rightly, and I want to also affirm that it's the cradle of civilization, right? And you know, uh, I tell you something very interesting about Africa recently. For the past 2 years, I've been involved in you know, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that's been signed by the 54, 55 African countries. And I can tell you presently in the world, it's, the largest single market, for countries to trade in goods and services. No one actually would have believed that Africa, would be the largest market today, on the I mean, on the planet. But
Agreed.
yeah, yeah. So Africa, the narrative, the perceptions, are changing over time. And I can tell you, because of course, like I mentioned earlier on, that India, just like Nigeria, was part of the British Empire, but over time, uh, India has been able to uh, uh, find itself, or herself,
Yes,
gets, and they've been able to reinvent themselves. They've been able to, rework themselves, and they've been able to define a clear path for, and of course, leadership. It's one of the two that drive, development and growth, in a nationality. You know, that it's something that Africa has been disadvantaged in. But of course, we are rising, and
Agreed.
Africa is making a statement now. So the I can tell you, even for in terms of education and other aspects, Africa, it's there are places, in Africa you would never believe that this is obtainable, right? I mean, it's funny because even in Nigeria, right, because of how heterogeneous the country is, it's possible for someone who has not traveled to another part of the country to perceive that, probably because of media or things they've heard, right? We had a pre-live discussion, and I mentioned that I'm not well traveled as you are, but I have a liberal mind, and I mean I've traveled, right in front of my computer, and I've interacted with people, and so that has changed my perception, and all through law sequel, my experience, I've had, and that's one of the beauty about India. The people are resilient. They are determined, and the Indians are determined, and all through having personal coaches, performance coaches, mentors. Just trying to see that you get the best out of it is that you're doing. That has been one of my exciting experience in Losico. So, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for bringing so many positivity, so much of positivity, so many positive things. One of my Indian batchmates who studied with me MBA, he has set up a, tourism company in Kenya, and he's physically based out of that place. And he has been there, Akshay Chandra, he has been there for, I would say, almost more than 4 or 5 years. He's a photographer. Actually, he did his MBA, but he followed his passion in photography, and now he's commercializing this activity, and he keeps on sharing with us all these beautiful natural nature pics and we envy him like anything. So I can very much relate to that. Africa has huge beauty, and for the ones who know have no idea, the ones from India, Africa is a very large continent. It is much bigger than India. If you take from Eritrea to South Africa and from left to right, it's Egypt is also part of Africa. Lot of huge cultural diversity, but very long distances and huge reason. One of my one which I had referred in my announcement also when I was doing related to the session. One of my French friend, he's a proper French citizen. He's married to a Nigerian girl, and they have set up this something called AfricaWorks, and it is making up co-working spaces in different parts of Africa. Nigeria, of course, they have, and then Ghana, and then couple of more places. At least, if I remember correctly, 6, 7 countries they have set up, and then they are promoting entrepreneurship. So even Europeans are seeing a lot of potential in nurturing the entrepreneurship, bringing people from the same ecosystem and supporting all these activities. So there are a lot of opportunities, as you rightly said, that it's in a way, if I can term, it's an emerging economy, and coming together of various African countries as a single economic bloc. It's really I would say compelling, really interesting for industries to set up their I would say businesses or some part of their business units there. Now coming to Ahmed, what has been your experience? So initially, usually what happens, Africans are very much known for their athletic nature. Of course, long distance, so many long distance travelers and so many Olympic medals. And people are usually very well built, very tall, and very good in sports. So what had been your experience when you were involved yourself in sports activities, Ahmed? Were you giving some team unfair advantage? People wanted to you to have in your team so that they could win the matches and all. What was your experience?
No, actually, it has been great overall experience, but there is no anything like me being the head of the team or something like that. But yeah, I I've been engaging in sports since when I was in high school. I mean secondary school, and but I've never been engaged in the fitness and health activities until when I was in India. But yeah, it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I've get to learn so much about myself personally. I get to realize my potential in it, and in so many other aspects. You know, before I used to have this self-limiting belief, but after engaging in it for some time, I came to a point where I realized I am very much capable of achieving great things, both physically, professionally, and personally. So it was a very, very wonderful experience.
Sure, sure, inshallah. So I suppose you will have a great future, and of course, now India is one place where you have your experience. You have made a lot of friends. So hopefully, a lot of things would materialize in future. So now we are almost at the end of the session. In case, starting with you, Kubans, in case you have to give some suggestion to people who are trying to maybe let's say go into you can say overseas academic experience as well as maybe traveling to a different country and then maybe involved in business activities or some such kind of what we term as immersion, what would be your three, four suggestions so that they could make most out of those interactions or experiences?
All right. Like I said, what I was one of my responses. Um, I got to know about Losico, online. Someone sent me an invitation or a link, to join the boot camp, and I decided to give it a try. Now I know at that particular point in time, post COVID, there were lots of. In fact, there was a paper I was trying to write, within that COVID period, because I could see, I preempted that. Um, Education, it's most likely, or rather, it's going to be online, more of online than physical education, as it were. But uh, you have to define exactly what you want, or what your areas of needs are as a professional, beyond law. I assume that we have audiences from different background and all that, but if your interest is in law, you have to define exactly what you want, and then you could have interactions. Now, for you to be able to have interactions, you must be liberal. You must have an open mind. We talked about perception a while ago. You must, even if you have a perception about a particular, you know, uh, area, or about a particular set of people, you have to give it a try, right? Um, so that that perception does not allow you from taking advantage, of the potentials. Because we are all different. India has its potentials, Nigeria have its potentials, and so it is with every location. They have their potentials. So if you have a negative perception about a particular location, you're not likely to, benefit from that potential. So you must, decide your area of need, have a liberal mind, and be committed to, pursuing that particular area of need, and essentially, like I said, leverage the internet. That's the IT, information technology. These days you don't really have to travel, you know uh, particularly when you have financial constraints and all that. There are places like India. Ahmad was talking about affordability, and I mentioned it while talking, that India, it's quite affordable. uh, and I tell you, even now, I'm still looking around, what it is I can add, what it is I can pick, and and all that. And I think basically, if you have this, you will be able to take maximum advantage of international academic experience.
Agreed. So yeah, I quite relate to it. That openness. of perception, openness of experiencing a different environment is required, because many cases our perception get built by some biased channels. So news outlets, newspapers, they write news rather than writing maybe something very realistic, because realistic things which is very natural may not get them more viewership. So first, and having openness, I quite agree. And even with my experiences in France and other different countries, I can relate to it that whatever perception gets built may not be the reality. And usually it is not the reality. People are very normal kind. So it is more or less quite pleasant experience which people have. Now, Ahmed, coming to you, what would be your three, four suggestions? So, those who are wanting to study in a different location, different country outside their home country, not necessarily in India, but other places also, what will be your suggestion to them in case they have to make most out of that experience? So, two, three suggestions you can share based on your learnings.
Well, I would say one of the most enriching aspects of studying abroad it's the opportunity of interacting with people from diverse background, people from different cultures, tradition, and religion countries. Interacting with such kind of gives you a whole different perspective, not only about them, but about the world at large. And when I say different, I mean in a positive way. And I will also recommend networking as a law student.
Okay, I think so. I hope
Uh,
I'm audible, or it's. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Ahmad might be. Okay, okay. So I think he might be facing some network issue.
Am I audible now?
that's okay. He's back. Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. You are. Please.
Yeah, and yes, as I was saying, uh, I would also suggest on networking. Networking is very, very important. Um, I would recommend for internet based on my own experience as a student. I recommend all international students to really take part in networking, attend academic conferences, workshop, and seminars related to your field of study in order to get the opportunity to connect with like-minded professionals in your own field of study. And networking, am I audible now? Am I audible? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, Ahmad. Okay. Yes. So I think more or less to sum it up, what Ahmad was saying, that networking, of course, is a very important aspect, which would also allow one to connect with like-minded individuals. And in due course, it is our connection with people. Ultimately, as Kubans was also pointing out, that when we go out of this perception of whatever, maybe whether it's negative or positive,
Am I audible
when we,
now?
yes, Ahmad, you are. So when we go out and when we connect with individuals, it helps us build a much realistic perspective, and of course, professionally and personally, these
Am I audible
connection,
now?
these experiences of great
Okay,
value.
as I was saying, networking is very,
Yes, yes, yes. Ahmad, please go ahead.
yes, yes, and it also networking can open and can it can also be very beneficial
Drops.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so more or less he had completed. Okay, I just wanted to say him thank you but before we close the session. So maybe let's say 5 seconds or so, 5, 10 seconds we'll wait in case he joins and then we'll wrap it up. But thank you, Kubans, for taking out time from your schedule. And I hope, I don't know, it is around lunchtime for your case. So my apologies. If this session let you skip your lunch or maybe postpone it. But it was really, really great experience connecting and interacting. Uh, okay, let's. And Ahmad, in case you are able to hear, unfortunately, it appears the network dropped out. So thank you, Ahmad Jibrin, for also joining us and sharing your thoughts. And it was really, really great to have you here in the session and here. So thank you. Okay, wait. I think he is there. I think Ahmad is there. Let him. Okay, I think he's connecting slowly. Hmm. Yeah, Ahmad. Okay, sorry. I think I need to bring him on stage. Yeah, Ahmad, can you hear me? So Ahmad, I was just saying thank you very much for being here, sharing your thoughts and all your experiences about your travel to Jaipur, about your travel to Aligarh, even to Raipur, and I would say that three corners of India you have seen. So thank you very much for bringing all your insights, positivity, and what goodness you gathered here. And I pray that all who travel outside their country of residence to other places, they have these pleasant experiences and very realistic and good experiences with people. So thank you everyone.
Thank you,
So
Dr. Sid.
thank you Kubans again. Thank you Ahmad.
Thank you.